Hey everybody, how you doing? How's everybody doing in isolation? Fun, isn't it? Anyway, I've had plenty of time to work on this Philco 41280, being that I've been isolated. And you'll see here that I've got the chassis in good shape. It's all been derusted and painted. I did have to paint it just to protect it. I did put a rust inhibitor on it first, so it's not going to rust anymore. I've shined up everything. I've cleaned all the tuning caps, and I've cleaned the cans. I've actually rewired just two of the cans. The antenna can I did not. And I've got the radio working now. Let's turn it on. Okay, and I'll show you a shot of the front in a moment. And I had to redo the dial string, obviously. That was gone, and I had to redo the string for the broadcast selector. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But let me change the channel so we don't get a copyright hit. Here's ESPN Sports, and then here's a local station, a religious station. So of course I'm going to turn this off now. So of course the radio works great now, but of course I also had an oscillator problem when I first started it. And there's my phone, so let me get that. All right, sorry about that. So anyway, where was I? Oh, the tank circuit. So I had an oscillator problem, and what was happening is there's three very strong stations here where I live in Jacksonville. One is in my house, so I have one of those talking house devices with a MP3 FM radio connected to it for the last 4 years. It just plays on 800. And then I have two local stations, 690, which is ESPN Sports, and a local Catholic station at 600. And what was happening is I was only getting one station across the entire dial, right? And I had a good education about that. I'm saying to myself, okay, well, the oscillator's working because I'm getting one station. But what I've learned from consulting with Brendan was that my mixing circuit wasn't working, right? There was a problem between the mixer and the oscillator. And the mixer takes all these frequencies that are out there and separates them, basically, and I wasn't getting that. So I took a look underneath and was looking at mostly at this wafer switch. And took a look at the tank circuit, and we have a pair of 250 pico caps that were in there. These are Cornell Doubliers, and one of them was in the tank circuit. It's supposed to be 250. This one measured like 100. Okay, and I took a little plier while I was measuring it and squeezed it, and was drifting all over the place. And then I replaced this one, which was right next to it. It's in the same oscillator section, and I replaced them. And I also replaced the 10K resistor that's in my tank circuit, and the radio came back to life. I also connected the antenna that comes with it, and in this radio, it's a big, long box antenna. It goes all the way up about 3 feet. So I've got that connected. So let me swing you around and show you the front, and we'll see where we go next. Okay, here's the front of the radio, right here. And you'll see we have, let's see if we can pull the shot back a little bit. So this string that you see here is for this band selector. That was a real pain in the neck, and there's nothing on the internet that shows you how to do it. So I'm going to show you guys how to do it, because I've seen a bunch of people restore these things on YouTube, but not seen anybody explain how to do that. So I'm going to. And the dial string on this one is pretty complicated, actually, but I did have fun, Bill. It was good for me. I didn't get frustrated at all. Got it on the second shot. First shot, the string was too short, so I had to restart. But essentially, it connects to the wheel, comes down, goes underneath the chassis, comes up from underneath the chassis after it wraps around here, comes up, goes across here, and back to the wheel. Simple. And I didn't have any springs. The springs were gone, so I purchased this little set of springs here off of Amazon, which worked out perfectly. So I've got enough springs for my lifetime here, if I ever need one. And we've got this working. So let's talk about this band selector switch, because that's really the highlight of what I want this video to be about, is explaining to people how you do it. So let me set that up, and we shall be right back. All right, here's the moment you've all been waiting for, the band selector switch. How do you wire it? This is on a 41-280. I know that the other models in the Philco series are a little bit different, but let's talk about what we need to do. So, here's the front of the radio. Right here is your wafer switch. This is your band selector switch. Right over here, this is your tuning switch for the regular radio. Okay? And then over here, you have a metal bracket that's riveted like this. Like so. Okay? Up here, you have a metal box which has a hole in it, and this is where the light bulb shines through. So it's something like this. And there's wires here. And this thing is mounted on a pivot pin, like so. Okay? So let's just set up what we have here. On the top of this bracket, which goes across, there's also a wheel, a pulley. And it's a double pulley, so there's room for two wires, one here and one here. Okay? One last thing. This box right here, if you look at the side of the box, it looks something like this. And there's a little cutout like of a U. Okay? That's how you connect the string to it. So let's flip this over, and I'll show you how you do this. Now, one other piece I should show you is on this band selector switch, there's a wheel like this. It's a large disc wheel, and underneath on the underside, there's a little catch there where you have to put the string in. Okay? With that established, let's talk about how you wire this, how you string this thing. So we're going to draw things to scale. Here's our pulley. Here's our box. Here's our band selector switch. And here's our middle bracket. Alright, we'll use a different color. So first thing you want to do is you want to cut a piece of dial string. Right? Real simple. And what you want to do, the first thing, is you want to attach the spring to it. Now there is a spring, but let's talk about how this works. So your piece of string comes here, goes through this clip, comes up here, and goes inside that box on that little U shape that I showed you, which is right here. And when you pull it tight, it grabs it. Okay? From there, you want to come up around this pulley, like that. This side goes around, up this bracket, comes right here, and right here is a spring. Like that. Okay? That's really all there is to it. Now, what you have to adjust is how high and low this thing goes. Hey everybody, I honestly don't remember where I left this off because I've been filming this for about a week now. But what you'll see here is I have the radio all apart again, and the reason why is I've learned that it wasn't working correctly. It wasn't oscillating. And the reason why I knew that was very simple. So I was able to tune in local stations, the strong stations, really clear, right? I was able to get the three that are really, really prevalent here. But what I found out is that when I got to the upper bands, there was nothing. It was dead. So I did an experiment, and I didn't find this anywhere. I just tried it. I pulled out the detector tube and the oscillator tube, and I was still able to tune in those three stations. So what that told me is that the mixing circuit and the oscillator were not working correctly, right? We weren't able to filter out anything, and we were actually working without the oscillator, which I find interesting, and from a theory perspective, I don't know why. So the next thing I did was I said, let me see what's going on here. Usually when an oscillator doesn't work, it's a short on something. So I took a look at the tuning cap, and I did a continuity check between the rotor and the stator, and of course it was shorted. Right? So I took a look, I did a visual inspection, nothing. I found absolutely nothing. So I took it out of the radio, cleaned it, checked it, make sure that it's isolated out of the radio, which it is. But that then tells me that the issue is back in the radio somewhere where it's being shorted. And I took a really close look at the band switch. It's a wafer switch, and the best I could anyway. And I just saw broken wires that probably were touching somewhere, and then more importantly, I found carbon trails on the contacts. So I've done something that I've not seen anyone do on YouTube yet, and you'll probably all cringe. And if I actually get this working, maybe I'll be a hero. Who knows? But I took apart the band switch. So it's a 3-section band switch. Here's 2 sections. Here's the third one that I haven't cleaned yet. These 2 sections, I've actually cleaned all the terminals off, and I'm about to clean the contacts. But these things were all black, and there was globs of solder all over the place, not from me, but from whoever built it, I guess, and something else. still need to clean here. And then the last section, which is right here, I haven't really done much on that yet except check the contacts a little bit with some alcohol and clean them. And this is the one I'm going to do now. So essentially, we've taken apart our wafer switch and we're going to put it back together and rewire it. Sounds scary, but I spent the entire day yesterday on Saturday studying the schematic before I did this, because I wanted to make sure I'd be able to put it back together. And I now understand, and that's the beauty of this particular problem I'm having, is I now understand how to look at a wafer switch on a schematic, which is really good. So we're going to work on that. I also found a problem with our oscillator transformer. Our oscillator transformer also had a similar problem. Two of the connections were shorted together, right? So I've actually taken the oscillator transformer out, I've attached new wires, I've ohmed it out, it's perfect. This is exactly what we need, and we'll put that back on the radio. Most of that attaches to the band switch. And then over here, we have our antenna transformer. And you'll see I haven't gotten to this yet, but look at this big glob of mess on here. So we're going to take this down, strip it, put new wires on it, and we're going to put that back in the radio. So I'm doing something I've never ever done before. I'm going to be honest with you guys, I actually considered just buying another chassis. And then I thought about it and said, if that's what I'm going to do, why am I in this hobby? Right? You can't be in this hobby when things are smooth. You got to be in this hobby when you want to learn something. So that's where we are. So I've got the three sections here on the schematic. I'll show you really quick so you can see. Let's see if we can get that in. So this pink section is A. It's the A switch, A part of the switch, and this is the section that has broadcast right here. The B section is labeled in yellow right here, and then the C section is up here in orange. So it's really simple. These things are numbered B1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way through 12. And all you have to do is follow the wires one step at a time and connect them to the right things. It's not hard. It looks hard, it looks ominous, but it's not. So I'm going to be taking my time on this, obviously, putting this together correctly, cleaning it, making sure it works. I'm going to have to get some acetone and clean these contacts better because I want them to be perfect before I put them back together and start soldering to it. I've got all these terminals all cleaned up now, and hopefully we'll be in much better shape. So, like I said, I've never seen anybody do this on YouTube yet. Maybe you have and you just didn't film it. But I've taken the plunge, and that's what we're going to do. So I'll continue working on this, and I'll give you updates as we come along. This is going to be a slow process. Obviously, I'm taking my time here. It's one wire at a time. There's also connections that go between wafers, so we have to look at that. So it's going to be a fairly slow process. Okay? So anyway, we have a free bird here. The bird hasn't been impacted by the virus yet, so there's always hope. I'm only kidding. I hope everybody's staying safe. Wear your masks. Stay inside. Pay attention to this thing. It's pretty bad. And I hope everybody stays safe. Take care, guys. So I just got done cleaning this last section, and I notice here that the center is a little cracked. See right there? Right there? We've got a little crack in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some 2-part epoxy in there and just hold it together. It's not bad, but we want to prevent it from separating. So I'm glad we did the inspection, and I'm glad we took it apart. And this way it doesn't disintegrate any further. So we'll fix that. But aside from that, this thing has been cleaned off. I added a new ground runner here. It's basically a piece of solder wick that was there originally. It's going to go to the chassis. So now we're going to clean the contacts with some acetone, I think. And then we'll start to put this thing back together. All right? We'll see you in the next episode. Just wanted to point out that, you got to inspect this stuff a little bit. The other ones are fine. Happy Palm Sunday, guys. And have a great Easter if we don't talk to you. Everybody stay safe. Stay inside.